Jaguar Wright just blew the doors off the courtroom again. And this time, honey, she didn't just drop tea, she poured gasoline on the fire and lit the match. If you thought she was ever going to slow down in her mission to expose Diddy, then sweetie, think again. Because what just happened in that courtroom might be the beginning of the end for some of the industry's biggest names. She stormed into Diddy's court hearing like a woman on a mission, with receipts, security, and a look that screamed, "I'm done playing nice." And what did she bring with her? Tapes. Yes, you read that right. Actual tapes that she claims show Diddy with none other than Bryshere Gray, aka Yaz the Greatest, when he was only 17. Jaguar says these tapes are disturbing and that if they ever go public, they'll turn the entire industry on its head. But before we even get to that courtroom chaos, let's rewind. Because this Bryshere situation didn't just pop up yesterday. Oh no, Jaguar has been hinting, warning, screaming about this for years, even before Diddy's recent arrest. She's been calling out what allegedly went down between Bryshere, Diddy, Will Smith, and others hiding behind the shiny mentorship mask.
He's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
Jaguar's been crystal clear. This wasn't mentorship, it was manipulation, exploitation, and trauma. According to her, Bryshere was passed around under the disguise of career development. Diddy was supposed to guide his music. Will was supposed to elevate his acting. Completely naked. What happened, allegedly, was something so dark that Jaguar says it broke him. This story gets uglier by the second. She claimed that Bryshere and Meek Mill were once seen running out of Will Smith's house completely naked and screaming for help after a so-called freak-off. Not joking, Jaguar said it was so horrifying, neighbors heard the screams. Loud, terrified, and eerily similar to what Cassie described in her lawsuit against Diddy. Hours, even days of disturbing sessions.
He thinks he's God. I know a Punisher when I see one.
The story. Bryshere Gray was once a rising star. Empire made him a household name. But according to Jaguar, after he was handed over to that so-called mentorship circle, his life took a nosedive. He never became the superstar he was promised to be. Instead, he unraveled badly. From arrests to breakdowns to domestic abuse allegations, everything started piling up. In 2020, things hit a terrifying low when his wife ran into a gas station begging for help, claiming he had strangled her. SWAT had to get involved, and it took hours to get him to come out. Then came more headlines, another arrest in 2022 for assaulting a woman. His mugshot started circulating and fans were heartbroken. That vibrant kid from Empire, gone. In his place stood a man who looked shattered. But Jaguar isn't buying the troubled young star story. No, she's saying it plain. He was a victim. Handed over by his own manager, and even worse, with the full knowledge of his own mother, Andrea Mayberry, yes, his mother. Jaguar dragged her publicly, accusing her of selling her son's soul for fame, money, and clout. She says Andrea knew everything that happened in that house with Diddy and Will and still stood by and let it unfold. That her son became a product, passed around like an object in a grotesque industry game. It's devastating. This is one of the most heart-wrenching stories tied to the Diddy saga, and Jaguar refuses to let it be swept under the rug. In her eyes, Bryshere's not just a broken man, he's the proof of what happens when fame, power, and silence form a deadly combo. And guess what? Jaguar is not the only one talking anymore. Terrence Howard, who worked with Bryshere on Empire, just gave an interview, and though he didn't name names, the shade was real. He said some men in the industry give up their manhood and never get it back. Once it's gone, he said, there's a spiritual price. And it hit hard when people linked his words back to Bryshere. Jaguar didn't hold back either. She said it in even darker terms. Bryshere was turned out, passed around, left empty. And in one of the most disturbing moments, she claimed that during one of those freak-offs, Bryshere and Meek were slipping in and out of consciousness. No mentorship, just horror. Jaguar believes this is just one of many stories buried under Hollywood's glamorous facade. According to her, this has been happening for decades, and she's naming names. Diddy, Will Smith, Charlie Mack, even Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith's names have been dragged into the mess. And then came the bombshell. Jaguar said, ta-ta-ta, an actual video of one of these freak-offs with all the major players, including Bryshere. She says she's seen it with her own eyes. Let that sink in. If that tape exists and it ends up in the hands of prosecutors, game over. It's not just lawsuits anymore. That's criminal. That's prison time. But wait, it gets even more chilling. Jaguar claims that Bryshere was ready to come forward, ready to file a $50 million 0 cents lawsuit against Diddy and Will. But before he could go public, he got threatened. She says his life was at risk, and that's why he backed down. Let that sink in too. Even after all this time, victims are still being silenced, still being watched, still afraid to speak. Jaguar says she tried to help at one point. She even helped move Bryshere out of California, trying to get him away from Charlie Mack. But she claims Andrea, his own mom, ran right back to Charlie for a book deal, for attention, for the clout. Jaguar didn't hold back at all. She accused Andrea of prostituting her own son for fame. And then she said Andrea needs to tell Bryshere the truth about why his biological father is in jail, that there's another dark chapter that hasn't even been told yet. And finally it happened. Jaguar Wright marched into Diddy's courtroom, not with words, but with the tapes. She didn't sneak in, she entered with bodyguards, prepared for anything. She knew she was painting a target on her back, but she didn't care. She made a statement. Those tapes haven't been played in court yet, but prosecutors, they're taking them seriously. Rumors are swirling that they might subpoena Bryshere to testify. And if that happens, if he takes the stand and confirms even half of what Jaguar said, this case, this entire trial, it will explode. We're not just talking about Cassie's case anymore. We're talking about a system, an entire network, a decades-long pattern of grooming, abuse, cover-ups, and broken talent. And Jaguar's been saying this for years. She's been collecting evidence. She's been waiting, and now people are finally listening. She said it loud. Diddy's downfall will take the whole sick industry down with him, and honestly, that's exactly what's starting to happen. Jaguar even compared this moment to the fall of R. Kelly. She said authorities ignored the signs back then, just like they ignored Diddy's. And now the damage is worse. The scars are deeper. The victims are older. She also brought up Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, who died under suspicious circumstances. Jaguar said that death, there's more to it, that Kim may have known things and that she was another tragic casualty in this web of silence. Al B. Sure has also questioned Kim's death, and when you connect that to Cassie's lawsuit, to Bryshere's collapse, to Meek Mill's rumored breakdown, it starts to look like an orchestrated pattern. The web is unraveling, and guess who's at the center? Diddy. And now, the public is waking up. People aren't just whispering on forums anymore, they're screaming on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. The comments, they're absolutely scathing. One user wrote, "Absolutely come forth. What they did to him was horrific and wrong. He should reclaim his life, seek justice, get mental help, compensation, and rise like a phoenix despite them." And that right there is what Jaguar's been pushing for all along, because this isn't just about gossip anymore. This is about accountability. The fans are done watching their favorite young stars spiral and fade without asking the real questions. They're tired of cover-ups, of NDAs, of whispers behind closed doors. They want justice. And for Bryshere, that justice might finally be in reach if he finds the strength to speak up. Another commenter went straight for the throat. Jag has bigger balls than all the men who have ruled the world unchecked. All the parents who sold their child's soul for fame will reap what they've sown. Hoo, mic drop. Jaguar isn't tiptoeing. She's torching the entire system. She's out here saying what everyone else is too afraid to say out loud. And now that her voice is getting louder, others are starting to follow. The victims are not nameless anymore. The trauma, it's real, and the silence is being shattered. Now, here's where it gets even more intense. With those tapes reportedly in prosecutors' hands, there's talk, serious talk, about calling Bryshere as a witness, not just a source, a witness, in open court, under oath. That alone would shake Hollywood to its core. Imagine the ripple effect. If Bryshere testifies and confirms Jaguar's claims, then that opens the floodgates. Suddenly, it's not just about Cassie, or Kim Porter, or Meek Mill, or even Justin Bieber. It's about a systemic infection in the entertainment industry that's been allowed to rot in silence. And Jaguar, she's holding the scalpel. She's made it painfully clear this is only the beginning. If people think she's gonna fade into the background after dropping these tapes, they're delusional. She's not running. She's charging forward, armed with evidence, fueled by rage and backed by the cries of people who were too broken to speak for themselves. She even warned the public, this industry is going to burn. According to Jaguar, this so-called mentorship model is nothing more than a pipeline for exploitation. And the people at the top, they've gotten away with it for too long. She's called out the ones who were once considered untouchable: Diddy, Will Smith, Charlie Mack. And don't forget, Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith's names are now floating in this sea of horror, too. And remember, the most explosive part? Jaguar claims there's video evidence, not hearsay, not rumors, but actual footage that could end careers in a heartbeat. She says she's seen it herself. And now, prosecutors might have it too. If that tape sees the light of day, it's over. We're talking courtroom chaos, criminal charges, media frenzy, and a generation of fans forced to reconcile with the dark truths of the people they once idolized. No PR team can spin that away. And let's be real, Jaguar didn't just show up to the courthouse to make a scene. She came armed with bodyguards, with paperwork, with purpose. She knew damn well that she was risking her life just by stepping into that courtroom with the receipts in her bag. But she did it anyway, because for her, this isn't about headlines, it's about reckoning. And the internet knows it. People are drawing comparisons to the R. Kelly saga, saying if law enforcement had acted when the early signs were obvious, then maybe Diddy would have been stopped years ago. But they didn't. And now we're here, with more victims, more pain, more destruction. Jaguar's also not letting us forget Kim Porter, Diddy's ex. The woman who died under mysterious circumstances that still don't sit right with half the industry. Jaguar and Bryshere have both implied that Kim's death wasn't natural, that she knew too much, that she might have been silenced. And when you start stacking up all the names, Kim Porter, Bryshere, Meek, it stops looking like conspiracy and starts looking like a pattern, a terrifying orchestrated pattern. People are talking, people are digging, people are connecting dots, and Diddy is at the center of every single one. Online forums are lit up. People are scrambling to find interviews, old clips, anything that might confirm what Jaguar is saying. And the more they find, the more they believe her. This isn't just one woman with a wild story. This is a woman who's been shouting the truth for years and is finally being heard. And now the question everyone is asking, will Bryshere come forward? Will he walk into that courtroom and say it out loud? Or will the threats, the fear, the trauma keep him silent? We don't know. But what we do know is this: the clock is ticking and Jaguar's not going anywhere. Not now, not when she's this close to blowing the lid off the most guarded secrets in Hollywood. She's made it crystal clear. This isn't personal vengeance. This is about cleaning house. She said it herself. This is a reckoning. And honey, with everything that's come to light, she might be absolutely right. This trial, it might just be the beginning of the end. For Diddy, for his circle, for an entire rotten system that's hidden in plain sight for far too long.